Grand Rising, everyone. This is Consuelo. This is American Freedmen podcast on our Freedmen channel, brought to you by Freedmen Descendants Advocacy Group. So today we're going to be interviewing Miss Tamara Singleton. She is our guest. She is an associate broker at Century 21 because we are now going to also talk about real estate. We have a great deal happening in America where everyone is attempting to come here, buy up all kinds of land, and keep us off the land. So there's some things that Miss Tamara can bring to us regarding real estate in this moment in time, and we want to flush it out. We want to talk about it and also disseminate this information, you all, because there's a lot happening. And we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the housing market right now, what's happening. We'll talk about even the thing with what's going on with HUD, any of the scams and frauds that is ongoing, and then also ways we can protect ourselves and how we can come together as a collective and facilitate some things so that others cannot remove us from our soil and off our land. So with that, I will introduce Miss Tamara Singleton. How you doing, Miss Tamara?
I am doing just fine, sister. Thank you for having me on today. It's a great day to be in real estate, and it's a great day to be talking about
Oh, dang. Okay, I think we lost her, but we'll hold on. I'm sure she'll come back. So let's give it a moment because she's frozen on the screen. Well, while Miss Tamara is connecting back with us, I'm going to talk about a little thing that I've been researching, and we'll get more into it when she returns. But we will talk about a little bit or touch on land patents. I think that's something that is very important that we can research for us as the freedmen, and that we should be able to retrieve land here in the federal via the federal government so that we have ownership of our land, and then also we're not having to take on all of these different property taxes, and we know that at this point in time that is hurting our community with these property taxes. I was informed about a scam, whereas in South Florida, they have, if you go on a payment plan for your property taxes, right? That now someone or an entity, you have that deadline, right? And right before the deadline, there are these companies or organizations that will come in and pay your property taxes before your deadline so that they can retrieve your property, thinking that you're not going to be able to have the money to pay on your before your deadline. So I want you all to be very much aware of what is happening and how many immigrants are coming to America right now, scamming to try to get us off the land. And we've definitely got to fight this, you all. We have so much history in this country. There is no reason why at this point in time that we do not have our resources. So as you all know, I am working and lobbying that we ethno aggregate, delineate, aka separate from the immigrants and any and everybody else, and we have our own nation within this nation, just like the Native Americans. We know that we are the highest population of Americans, and so we must protect ourselves. And this is our land, this is our country. We sacrifice so much. We have equity here. They do not have equity here. So welcome back, Miss Tamara. Sorry about that. I guess, yeah, the internet. We'll roll with it. It is the
yes, ma'am.
internet. Okay.
It is what it is. It
It
is
is
what it
what it
is. So
is.
I switched devices, my sister. So can you hear
Okay.
me good?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay, great. So now I'm on my little tablet, so that's why it
Okay.
looks different. But I've been
Okay.
having
You
trouble
look
with
good
my
though.
TV. Okay, great. Right. Thank you, sister, for being patient with me. But I'm back. I'm back. I probably
Good.
won't be able to share my screen now because I'm on another PC, but that's okay. We're gonna walk and
Do
talk
you
through it.
want to send it to me? We can see if I can share from here if you like.
That might be a great idea. Let me get off camera right quick and so I can send it over to you, okay?
Okay. Okay. All right. So once Miss Tamara comes back, excuse me, Tamara comes back, then we'll get into it. She did have a presentation that she wants to share with you all. So I'll go back to what I was speaking about: land grants, land patents. We need all of that, and we can get that done via the federal government under our Office of Freedmen Affairs, or once we reestablish, restructure our Bureau of Freedmen Affairs, so that there are certain things, right? Certain resources that are granted and guaranteed to us without us having to compete and fight with immigrants that have no equity in this country. But they're coming here and attempting to take what is ours and then tell us we're not worthy. But these beings aren't in their countries. They're not even making sure that they provide for themselves in their countries. They're coming to America, siphoning off our resources, siphoning off our capital, which is not theirs, right? We've been here, we built, developed, advanced this nation into a first world nation, a superpower. And there's no reason for us to be at the bottom. Now, we know there are certain things that they've been doing to us for over 200, 300 some years to take us off this land. And we know we're not going anywhere. So it's time for us, excuse me, it's time for us to make sure that we are proactive and that we are actively engaged in making sure that we sustain ourselves on our soil, in our country, on our land, right? It is time for us to say, hey, you all do what you want to do, but we're going to do what we need to do. We're going to take care of ourselves because we have a lineage here that extends over 500 years, and we want to continue, and we want our children and their children and their children and their children, our legacy and our lineage to survive and thrive in our land. Our ancestors did not sacrifice all of this to go to immigrants that have no allegiance to this country. So that I'm gonna get off my soapbox and let's see if we can get Miss Tamara back on the screen. So we can pause for a minute. We'll pause. Okay. All right. Perfect. You're back. Okay.
Okay, sister. So that idea did not work out.
Oh,
So,
okay.
because that was just a hot mail to me, and I can't seem to convert it right now. But we can
Okay.
definitely talk through the information. You know,
Yes. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay, so once again, I am Tamara Singleton, Tamara Cody Singleton, with Century 21, associate broker at Century 21 here in San Antonio, Texas. And so, like the sister said, we wanted to talk about our plight in our the abuse that we or came through the hands of the oppressors, how they've stolen our land systematically through uh, our ignorance of heirship rights. Basically, that's where I would like to begin with, sister, is that um, we don't know that the number one, the value of land. Like land is indestructible. And once you understand that land is indestructible, you can understand that land does not depreciate, land appreciate. And that is why they have systematically taking land from us, because once you have land ownership, then you have what they call nation states rights. Sort of how when you look at the Jewish people and how they were able to form a nation over in Israel, that was because they had claim to a land mass. So if you can keep a people from obtaining land in large amounts,
Mm.
that would effectively prevent them from becoming a nation of people. So that goes back to self-determination. That was the whole purpose of field order, the Sherman's field order 15, was to give newly freed men the opportunity to be self-determined. How can you be self-determined without land? That was the purpose of the 40 acres and a mule. So ever since those, I guess that treaty was broken, those promises were not fulfilled, we as a people have been struggling with obtaining land ownership. And that is why we're not seen as a nation of people, because they can just change what your identity status is at will because you have no land.
So you are highlighting how basically they keep attempting to take us off this land so that others can have rights to the land, even though we've been here, we built, developed, and advanced this nation on this soil and on this land. And we are the Americans.
Exactly.
Okay. So with that, even with the farmers,
Right.
and what's been happening with them, when you look at how much land we had when we were sharecroppers coming out of slavery, right, and look
Uh,
at the amount of land that we have now.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So back in 1910, we had, by 1910, after the slaves were set free, we were set free, we called freedmen, we were owning 16 million acres of land. 16 million acres of farmland were owned by us, and 90% of that has been lost today.
Now, how did that happen?
That happened through the Trail of Tears, where um, newly freed slaves were acquired property by squatting, meaning just going in and developing undeveloped land. Uh, they had airship rights from
The slave
former
owners.
slave owners, right? And they were forced off of those lands.
Mm.
When President Johnson came in, he repealed of Freedman Sherman's order
Field order,
15,
special field order
15, right?
15.
He
Mm-hmm.
repealed that, and he returned the, I guess you can say, plantations back to the masters. And the slaves, the freedmen were forced off of those lands, sent on the Trail of Tears to places like Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas. Um, that was known as the Trail of Tears. Then after that, you also had what we call Jim Crow laws and redlining, where African Americans, blacks, freedmen could not buy in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
You were preventing to buy from buying property in certain areas. You were forced to you had opportunities to buy what swampland, you could buy that, but you couldn't buy what they call prominent residential land, right? Or even farmland. Those were reserved for the prominent society, what we call today white folks. So then after you had that, then they had what you call redlining, where neighborhoods after integration, right?
Yes.
You started to see us move into the predominant areas, the so-called urban areas, and then you had white flight. Once we
Mm.
began to integrate into those neighborhoods, you began to have white flight, and because of white flight, you came to have rural areas. And in those rural areas, Black folks were prevented from purchasing in those areas, and white folks were redirected to those rural areas as opposed to buying in the urban areas. So back in the day, what the tax assessors did, this is another way that they forced us out of our lands.
Mm.
What the tax assessors did was they assessed our property at a higher rate, which means that we could not afford the taxes on the property, but the people out in the rural areas, their tax rate was not as high. So when you in the urban area can't afford your taxes on your property, you are subject to foreclosure. And the
Mm-hmm.
county or the city takes your property for failure to pay taxes,
Mm-hmm.
because that's one of the ways that they were able to take control of numerous amounts of communities where we were the majority of the citizens in that community. Places like Washington, D.C., places
Mm-hmm.
like Atlanta, Georgia. Now those places are majority white when they used to be majority black. And that
Mm-hmm.
is the way that they did that. Now the reverse is happening. Now in those areas, you have what they call gentrification, where
Mm-hmm.
now those properties whose it's a process, right? They
Mm-hmm.
devalue the homes, they devalue the value of the home.
Mm-hmm.
And when you devalue the value of the home, now the tax rate is more than the value of the home. You lose your home because you can't afford to pay the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't afford, and now you can't even afford to say, I'm going to pull out equity to pay the taxes because they
Mm-hmm.
devalue the home, the, the market value of the home, right?
You just hit on something because when I lived
Mm-hmm.
in Atlanta, Georgia, I remember being in Freedom near Freedom Causeway, Freedom Parkway, that area, and they had already torn down the Section 8 or whatever, the housing there, and rebuilding. And in the process of rebuilding, you had like a $500,000 home next to a home that's probably valued at 150,000, 200,000. That's what I
So
saw. Mm-hmm.
so that's how they were doing it. And so when you have a person that say that they're elderly, right? They've lived in this house all their life.
Mm-hmm.
They may own the house outright, been there over 30 years. They're on a fixed income.
Mm-hmm.
Their
Mm-hmm.
tax value keep going up. Their taxes that they paid 30 years ago is now triple or sometimes 10 times more,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they have to come up out of pocket, with this large tax bill at the end of the year when they're just living paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now they're forced to sell their house. Even though, like you say, they have $500,000 house right next to them, their value is going to be remain suppressed because of the condition of the home and the market value of the houses around them that's selling. Not just that one.
So I would think that their market value or their home would go up.
Not immediately. That's what you call gentrification. Not immediately. See, once investors go in there and buy that property at $120,000, which is maybe that somebody might only owe $120,000, and they need to get out of this property because they're going to go into tax foreclosure, right? So it is real tricky. So they go in there, and now you sell the house at 120,000. The investor comes in, do a little cosmetic repairs, and now that house is comparable to the one right next to it. Now you can say apples for apples. Before you couldn't.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what you call gentrification. Once they go in and renovate it and bring it up to a market value that's comparable to that $500,000 house, now that house is worth $500,000 after they did maybe $20,000 to $30,000 worth of renovation. But that meanwhile, that previous owner, which was probably us, we only got $120,000 for property because we didn't
Ooh.
have $20,000 or $30,000 to invest in the very same property to bring it up to a comparable market value.
So again, it's economic genocide. They know
Exactly.
we don't have the funding, the capital, and then we don't have an office. I was speaking about us having offices of Freedmen Affairs where we would be able to have these resources and we could go to our federal government and turn some of these communities into protected land patents or land grants where we don't have certain issues like this. Is that feasible, or what are your thoughts about that?
Well, there are certain things called what they call community block grants,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to have a plan, and you have to have, the investors that's going to be committed to doing the affordable housing, and abide by the tax laws and everything. But it's a great way to incentivize people to go and to form cooperatives where everybody has some skin in the game and everybody is owning that property that's a part of that community land grant.
Okay,
And
okay, let's hold it.
that's a whole nother conversation that right now we shouldn't even go into, because you know until you have the people.
Yes,
Right.
you can't do anything. So I
Right.
hear what you're saying. Okay, well, let's back it up a little bit. Now, we were talking. You're talking about gentrification, how it's and redlining, and how they're able to implement it to take the land, which now also, or you're expressing the property taxes as well, how that becomes a financial burden for most of us because they're coming in redlining, gentrifying the neighborhoods, right? So I was informed about another way that they're attempting to take our property. Someone gave me a call and let me know about in South Florida that now when they went to pay, they had created a payment plan, right, to pay their property taxes. And once they, before the deadline, 24 hours before that deadline to pay the property taxes or make that payment, another entity had already come in and they allowed them to pay to retrieve so they could retrieve the property. Now, we know that that is against the law, right? And that's not feasible because the deadline had not expired. However, this is something that is inside those government offices that is happening. And so that is creating another problem because we don't have people sitting in those offices also protecting us, right? So how do we combat all of this scamming and fraud to take our land?
I think that what we need as freemen is a hotline. If
Mm.
you are in danger of losing your home to back taxes, back property taxes, contact us. You know what I mean? That's what we need. And you mentioned an office. That could be a virtual office with a virtual number that people can call to say, "Hey, I have help." And then you within your organization can put out call to action. Hey, such and such in Tennessee needs to keep her home. What can we do? How can we pitch in together? Because most times, sister, it's not a lot of money. It's not.
Exactly. It's not.
Right.
And they're anticipating because of the economic genocide of our people, and everybody knows this plan, right? And they're participating in it. They know that we don't have a lot of us, especially our elders. They don't have the money, right?
And we could very well start a nonprofit organization that its mandate is to reserve and hold, collect, solicit for donations for people who are facing tax foreclosure. So all those funds are held in trust for that particular purpose. We
I would
sign
love
checks
that.
to,
That's great.
yes,
But you
and
have to.
we don't give the money to the person. We give the money to the counties for which the taxes is owed.
Yes, yes, that's an
Right.
awesome idea. That's an awesome, awesome solution. And maybe real estate, Black American freedmen, Negro freedmen real estate agents and brokers could set something like that up because you all are very much aware of the laws and how things work on the real estate end, where,
Right.
with that expertise that could help the community and you all coming together in that area, so that we could facilitate some of this, that would be awesome.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. That's
That's your
definitely
idea
where.
though.
Yeah, I mean, as we're talking, that's how it happens, right? As we're talking
Yeah.
and working these things out. And so, yeah, think this is the way think tanks work, right? And
Yes.
so, I am a member of what we call the Black National Association of Black Brokers here in San Antonio. I haven't attended a meeting in a long time, but I'm definitely going to get reconnected with them and, definitely bring that up because in the near future, because, I don't know if you guys were watching the news, but African American females are the most unemployed right now in America. And
Hmm.
that is because we were most affected by the recent federal job cuts.
Hmm.
We were the middle class workers that were
Hmm.
in those held a lot of those federal job positions that are no longer, and also in education as well.
Hmm.
So with that, if they lost their jobs and they were already living paycheck to paycheck, and those layoffs started coming in February, March. Now we're more than 3 months into them being unemployed.
Hmm.
And then with
Hmm.
the recent decisions of not hiring people through what we call DEI or affirmative action,
Hmm.
chances
Hmm.
are some of those people are still unemployed. And if they own homes, they're facing foreclosure. And if they were leasing, they're facing eviction. So that is why we need such a nonprofit trust fund where people can donate to keep our people in their homes. Another thing that I thought about, sister, is that we have a lot of people who would like to invest in properties, and so
Yes.
if we could figure out a way of bringing investors together to go in and purchase properties from individuals who may have been falling on hard times, and
Hmm.
be able to purchase the property from the bank for them and
Hmm.
then allow them to stay in their homes by paying us rent,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then to a certain extent where they've paid back their debt, and then they can then apply again once they've cleaned up their credit, they can then apply to buy the house back from us for what we paid for it, not
Right.
market value, but what we paid for it,
That's
right?
another great idea. I mean, even
That way
for.
they get the equity back.
Yes, and I've even thought about, what, we had boarding houses back in the day where people supporting each other to have a house or have a home, and be safe. That is something else that we could do as individuals in the community. If we have property, we can open them up and make them boarding homes, or we can renovate them and make them boarding homes to make it feasible and affordable, because we
Right,
already know.
absolutely.
Yeah, they're not going to do it. We got to do whatever we need to do for ourselves, right? um
Absolutely.
so you have touched on some great ideas and some great plans. Now I was speaking to you earlier, and you said you work with HUD, you're a broker. You could also go in and purchase or help people purchase foreclosed homes, right?
Right.
Can you touch on that?
That
Hmm.
is a very meticulous process, and it's all about timing. Once you locate a hard foreclosure, they have particular days when they're gonna do what they call bidding processes. You have to
Hmm.
have your offer in, all of your paperwork in line, your finances available, whether or not you're going to be using a third party lender or you're going to be paying cash. All of that has to be ready to go once you place that offer, because you have 48 hours to get the contract back to them with wet signatures on it. You have a certain amount of time to get the contract back to the title company to say that it's now under contract, and you have to follow their strict guidelines. And any mishap by your realtor, by your broker, your hard approved broker, could cause you to lose that property. It's very meticulous, and you have to be on your game. That is why everybody is not authorized to sell HUD properties.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, but I'm just saying that's another way to obtain property, if you're, especially if you're an investor, right? If you're
That's right. That's
prepared
right.
as an investor and you have money and you have a cooperative that you're
But
speaking about.
but
Go
the
ahead.
caveat to that is that they give preference and priority to home buyers.
Mm.
So if you're not planning to occupy that home, chances are, even though you bid on that property and your bid was higher than a potential home buyer, they're going to
Mhm.
give that property to home buyers because that's what HUD does. That's, you know, they're about creating home ownership, not about having investors get a good deal and then turn around and flip it, because that's what most investors do. They'll buy these HUD homes at a major discount price because they're foreclosures, right?
Right.
And it's a bidding process. So
Mhm.
they go in and they bid really low. They put minimum amount of money into the property, and then they turn around and sell the property at market value, and they make a profit off of it.
Okay. What else do you know about HUD that works for us to our advantage, considering the laws around HUD?
So what works for our advantage is that you're able to purchase a property with um, little to no money down
Mhm.
through a hard foreclosure if you go through the process. If you're able to, especially if you are a teacher, if you're in the medical in the medical profession, fireman, EMS, you would get a chance to move into the property. I believe this, I have to check, but discounted down payment, like 100%, 100% financing, almost $100 down, I think, or $500 down, something like that. But it's a
Oh,
minimum
okay,
down
okay.
payment.
With the medical, I found, or I was told, right? Because I
Mhm.
moved, I sold my home in Tennessee, moved to Florida because I was working on my doctorate, and I knew I was going to go to Florida to go to school, right? So I had this vision that when I go to Florida, I would be able to go and just purchase another home or a condo or something like that in the state and have another asset. Well, come to find out, they told me because I'm thinking the medical part, then going to school to get my doctorate in psychology, that I would be able to do this. How about they told me it was only for if you were becoming the doctor, like a surgeon or actual doctor. They did not consider me having a doctorate, excuse me, of the mind as a part of the body and the brain, medical. I was thrown for a
That's
loop.
that's weird. That's
It
weird.
is
I don't.
weird. That's what I
But
was told.
who
Yeah.
told you that though?
A couple real estate agents in Florida. I
Mm,
was
weird.
literally ready to buy.
That's
Yes.
weird. That's really weird. Because if you're in the medical field, they don't say physician. They just said medical. They said
That's what I
medical field,
thought.
right?
Even
And so
my realtor in Tennessee said, "Hey, I'm gonna set you up with someone in Florida." And then when I was set up with that individual, I was told that. I went to another realtor and they told me the same thing. And I'm just like, I'm still medical. I'm healthcare.
see, it's not their job to say it. Once you have a medical degree, right? It's HUD that makes that final decision, whether or not you qualify, whether or not your credentials, not the realtor. The realtor is just supposed to submit the information. You
And
understand what I'm
then,
saying?
okay, and then they went to the fact that I did not have employment, stable employment because I was in school.
Well, that were you paying cash for the property?
I was gonna, well, yeah, I was gonna pay some cash. Hmm.
But you were going to finance any parts of it?
Yes, I was gonna finance some parts
Okay,
of it.
so then that could be why, but they don't know if you have other forms of income, right?
Right.
Did they
And well,
ask you
at
if
the
you
time,
had?
I yes, I had some limited other forms of income, but I had majorly some monies already,
So yeah,
stacked
so they
away and
just
things of that nature.
yeah, so they made a whole bunch of assumptions about you. As realtors, we're supposed to direct you to the the finance people, the lenders. They're the ones that looks at your whole total asset financial makeup and decide whether or not you're qualified to purchase a home at any given price. So
Mm.
it's not the realtor's job to tell you whether or not you qualify for any program. It's the lender's job to
And
tell
I
you. And
and
if
I
you were
couldn't
paying,
the
uh-huh.
referral from the realtor that I got in Tennessee, evidently the realtor in Florida was not as knowledgeable.
Could be.
And, I missed an opportunity and I was very upset because I was like, wait a minute, I'm in school working on a doctorate. You're telling me that doctors can get these certain benefits because you're going to be helping a community, right? Did not
But you
apply
didn't
to me
have
all of a sudden.
but you didn't have the doctorate already, is what they
No,
were
I did
saying.
not. Mm-mm.
And that
Because
could
even,
be it.
oh,
That
okay.
could be
Well,
it.
a lot of residential students or residency, right? Students that are in
You were in
residency in medicine,
residency.
they're able to purchase homes.
Well, see that, like I said, it's up to the lender and to say whether or not you qualify. It's not my job. My job is to find the house and to make sure that you have all of the documents signed and ready to go when you want to submit that offer, when it's time to bid on that property.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's my job. I'm supposed to send you and get you in touch with the lender, with the loan officer that can guide you through that process of getting you qualified
Mm-hmm.
before we even submit an offer. I have to have
Mm.
that pre-approval letter from the
Right.
lender.
Right.
And they will determine whether or not you should go for this property or not.
Okay.
Not the realtor.
Well, I know better now, and I'll be finished and complete with my doctorate. So let's see what happens.
Yes, for
Mhm.
sure. I would definitely go back. You have some type of certification in your field and what you do already.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so sometimes that's all it takes is just a certification in the medical field. I mean, if you have EMS,
Mm-hmm.
right, that's emergency operation. We know they live in our neighborhoods, like we know them. They are our neighbors, right? The EMS,
Right.
they're our neighbors. They
Right.
qualify because what? They have a certification in EMS, right?
Right.
Firefighters, same thing. They qualify as well. They are our neighbors. They have a certificate. They're certified firefighters. That's it. They have
I'm
less
glad we're
school.
having
What I'm
this
trying to say is that,
conversation.
that's what I'm trying to say. They have less schooling
And they
than you
still
do,
have these benefits, are able to
and they qualify.
take
So
up.
why wouldn't you qualify? You understand what I'm saying? That's why you cannot let a realtor step outside of their lane,
Well,
basically, for lack of
it's
better
very
words, and
important
tell
for
you
us to
about
have
financing.
well, it's very important for us to have realtors like you that look like us, know the game and how they play this game so we can circumvent these pitfalls. Because,
Right.
that was a discouragement, right? For me to not buy. And I had
Yeah.
a
Wow.
lump sum, I had lump sums of money. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And if they could, it's a real thing of this jealousy in our ability to obtain wealth. What they call wealth. And everybody knows that wealth is obtained through real estate, through
Mm-hmm.
land.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because like I said in the beginning, land is indestructible. So once you own the land, it cannot be destroyed. And they know that. And that's why I say building generational wealth through real estate. Because what they're doing is sending their children to college from the equity they have obtained in the homes, in the land, in the property that they own.
Well, let's
And
let's talk
go ahead.
about that. Okay, because you were talking about airship rights.
Mhm. Okay, so airship rights. This is what the dominant class is doing to us. We we are scattered all over America, right? And so some of us, our forefathers owned land and big swaths of land, lots of acreages of land. And when they die, airship rights law says that it passes down to their descendants, divided
Mm-hmm.
equally, right? If there's no will, if they die intestate, right? So if there's no will and these descendants doesn't even know that this land is in their family as a possession, then the dominant class is going and doing their research, identifying those lands and contacting those heirs individually and say, hey, do you know that you own this percentage of property and this? They know, I had no idea I own this. And then they say, would you like to sell your share? And we ignorantly do that.
Mm.
And so once they amass a certain percentage of the total amount of ownership in the property. Let's just say there were 10 heirs and he got 6 of the heirs to sell to him. Now he has the majority ownership in the property, and he can go to court, and they are going to court to force the sale of the rest of the heirship to him because he's the majority, or they are the majority owner. Heirship rights. We must identify property that we own, and we must encourage our young people to retain and maintain that property, not to sell for any amount of money. Just because you may be hurting for $10,000, $20,000, before you sell it to a stranger, sell it to somebody else in your family, so that land stays
Stays
in
in
your
the family.
family. That's heirship rights.
Okay. And that's a great explanation of how it works. And I think that's very important for people to understand how that works. Now, what if you have it in a land trust?
That's the way to protect it. That's one way to protect it, because you can't, when you have it in trust, then you cannot sell the land out of the trust unless the people who are in trust, unless the trustee approves of it.
Okay. So that's a one way to circumvent the heirship rights, right? Of them family selling off the land is what you're
Right. Put it
saying.
in trust.
Put
Put
it
it
in
in
a
trust.
trust.
Right.
Okay. Now I know you touched on a little bit about the cooperatives, but cooperatives, we need people to be a part of the cooperatives. So can you give a little bit more of how we can establish cooperatives and so that they work for our community and our people of Freedmen?
You identify individuals who want to buy land, who want to own land and keep it in their families in perpetuity, generational wealth. Once you have a group of people that understand that
So
they,
hold that thought for a minute. So you're saying that family members can get together and have a cooperative and then also implement a land trust.
exactly,
Oh, okay, go ahead. Let's put it together. Just stop
exactly,
right
just
there.
like that. Okay, so once you form your cooperative, that means that you have a board, right?
Mhm,
Those are your decision makers. And then you
mhm,
have members. Let's
mhm.
just say you start off with 3 people. And thank you for that referral. I did talk to that sister and spent some time with that sister on yesterday. And we had this very same conversation. So
Okay.
once you have at least 3 people, right? You have
Uh-huh.
a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. And then you can elect other officers. Those people bring in other people like-minded. You have your board set up, right? Then you have
Right.
members. You bring in people and you say, okay, we want to buy, let's say, for instance, we want to buy 100 acres of land. We see land and cost $350,000. I'm just using that rough numbers, right?
Right.
100 acres, 350,000. We have 3 of us. Let's divide that 3 ways.
Mm,
Now we could do it. We could decide to get financing, or we decide that if we got 3 people, they got a lot of money, they all buy it, just cash. But you issue shares of stock. So now you have 100 shares split 3 ways, ownership. And then it goes the same if you add members to it. They bring in money, they buy shares of stock into the cooperative. So now they may own 6 shares to your 100 shares because all they had was $500, but you had $20,000. So now you have more shares than them, but they have ownership in it. And that ownership that they have cannot be sold without the approval of the group.
mm. Okay. And that's why I was going with the family. But then if you're friends, you're all friends. I know a couple of gentlemen that I grew up with. They did something similar to this in land in Tennessee right today. They're still
Mhm.
owning land and now they're building out on it, right?
Yes.
They know that they're coming and will be offering some buyout at some point in time here. So
hmm
mhm.
hmm So now what they have, if they bought that property some time ago, now what they have is equity in that property.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now that property is worth more than what it was worth back then. They can actually take out loans against the property,
And buy
equity
more
loans,
properties.
not buy more property, but improve that property.
Okay. Okay.
So the more improvement you put on the property, buildings, infrastructure, right? Roads,
Yes.
utilities, buildings,
Mm-hmm.
the more opportunity you have to improve the value. Now you have more value in the property because as you improve the property, it goes up, the value goes up.
Right. Okay.
So now what
All
started
right.
out as a $350,000 property, once you put another $200,000 into it, now it's worth $1.5 million.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially if you put like a commercial strip mall,
Mm-hmm.
whereby you're selling pads to restaurants and you're also leasing spaces to other retail or other entrepreneurs that may need a storefront.
And that's how you begin to build a city, right?
Exactly. That's the exact definition of the start of a making of a planned unit development. The sister and I talked about that as well.
Okay. Okay. I'm loving this. I'm so happy that you reached out to me and I was like, we need to talk about real estate. It is huge. And I've had the workshop, the community development workshop with Mark Carter on how to utilize HUD section 6 and section 3 and title 6 and title 7. But this takes on another dimension as far as this part of real estate for
Yes,
us,
this is true ownership.
Yes.
This is talking about ownership and also investing to bring about residual income, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
all
Mm-hmm.
it still goes back to generational wealth because the idea is to once you have it, you don't sell it. You keep it and you use it to leverage
As asset.
as an
Mm-hmm.
asset, and that gives you leverage to buy more property or improve the existing property.
Right, right. Okay. This has been very educational, informative, and this is why I wanted to now get out and just hold my own YouTube or hold our own Freeman podcast so people can have referral, some resource besides of, I mean, X, they keep bumping me out. So I'm losing all this great information that I could be sharing with the community so that they can be empowered to do some things and change some things within their community, right? Or
Right.
for us to change. Now, is there anything else that you want to talk about or cover that you think that people should know?
Well, right now is a good time to buy. You don't want to wait until the interest rates drop, right?
Mm.
The reason why I say right now is a good time to buy is because inventory is like about 5 to 6 months in any particular state. It may vary depending on your state, but 5 to 6 months is a good time for buyers. I say that because the investors are not out there heavy right now. Once the
Wait a minute.
interest rates
Okay, so you said 5 to 6 months. So now in
are
the
worth of
next 6 months,
inventory.
we should be buying, taking
No, no,
advantage
no.
of
It's
buying.
it's 5 to 6 months worth of inventory out there
Oh,
right
okay.
now, right?
Okay,
On
okay.
the market for sales. Sellers are now realizing that hey, I cannot get that price that I wanted to get or could have gotten in 2019, 2020 when the market was really hot. It has
Mm.
drastically changed. And that was another way, sister, of them taking our wealth, right? Because if you could recall, I don't know, you probably weren't paying attention, but people were selling their homes and buying other homes cash.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how much equity they had amassed since the 2008, right? 2008, this the real estate market did the
The
downturn, right?
crash.
The
Mm-hmm.
too big to fail debacle, right?
Mm-hmm.
From then to 2018, people had tripled the amount of equity in their home values. Okay. So when I tell you people who bought in 2006, 2008, and they bought a home at $175,000, when I tell you that their house in 2020 was worth $500,000, I'm not
Mm.
lying to you. So if you bought way back then at
Mm-hmm.
175,000, now your home is worth 400, 500,000, and you sold it for the market
Mm-hmm.
value, you
Mm-hmm.
have enough money to walk away and go buy another house cash. And
Mm.
that's what was happening over and over and over again. The feds
Okay.
did not, well, the powers that be did not like that.
Right.
And then there comes inflation, read between the lines.
Mm-hmm.
That was too much money for the middle class to have at its disposal to do whatever they want to do. They couldn't figure out how, if they shut everything down during COVID and
Mm-hmm.
everything started back up, but
Mm-hmm.
not the job market numbers. They couldn't
Okay.
figure out where those people went. What they did was they opened their own businesses
Mm.
from the money they took out of their houses. They
Right.
had just that amount of money to start their own business. When they shut everything down, they started their own business. Everybody wanted to know what happened to the workforce.
Uh-huh.
People
Uh-huh.
still live. Everybody didn't lose their house. We didn't have no mass foreclosure crisis.
Right.
You understand what I'm talking about? We were shut
Mm-hmm.
down for more than 6 months. Understand that. And so if we know that we live in paycheck to paycheck, people were selling their houses, cashing out on their equity, buying new homes, and starting businesses. Working from their houses, more than likely.
Right. Uh-huh.
Entrepreneurship went up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then they say inflation. And now
Mm.
we're here. Now we're here with people not being able to afford as much house as they could have because the high interest rates.
Right. Right. I
So
see.
they effectively stole your equity from you. And it called it
Mm.
inflation.
Mm-hmm. 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 So that's the game they play with us, is what you're saying.
That's the game they play.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you to amass that much real estate wealth because
Mm-hmm.
then you can do what they do.
Mm. Play games and do and start businesses out of your home and
And
finance
send their kids
yourself.
to college.
Yes.
Send their kids to
Yes.
college just so that their kids is not their children, not kids. Their children are not burdened with debt once they
Right.
graduate
Right.
because they took it out of the home equity and they're
Right.
paying themselves back. Because once you start paying on that home equity loan, you're effectively putting the equity back into the house.
Yes. 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 Okay, okay. And this is awesome. This is great on how we can move forward and be successful in the real estate market and make it work. Or yeah, make it work for us. Property
Right.
ownership working for us.
Generational wealth through real estate.
Generational wealth through real estate. My thing was I knew I wasn't going to settle in Tennessee. I know I'm not. I would have loved to been able to rent out my home and be able to come back and check it and things of that nature. But because of the school and everything that I had going on, I was like, I cannot deal with all of that headache. Because people are always like, oh wow, you're gonna have to get a property manager, and you got to make sure whoever's in your home don't destroy it, because they've had so many people to destroy their homes, and then they have to take out money to renovate and then start all over again. That
But
was
that
some of the
goes in,
pitfalls.
but that's all in property management. That's all in being a property owner who's
Owner.
leasing their property. That goes with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a bad idea to hire a property manager. Number one, you have to be licensed to do property management,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, you're going to hire a professional anyways. And that relieves the burden off of you because the screening of the tenant is the responsibility of the property manager.
Mm-hmm.
All they have to do is send you your rent proceeds in your monthly statement.
And
And
how
if
much
there's a big,
does a property manager do you usually have to pay? Any range? You ain't got to give me exactly, but an estimate how much so people will know, get an
it's
idea.
negotiable. It's
Oh.
negotiable. And that's what a lot of people don't know, that
Mm.
everything in real estate is negotiable as long as it's legal.
Right. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes. So it's negotiable between you and your property manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just but what you need to understand or be looking for in a property manager is someone that's going to be able to screen the tenants properly. They have to have their own tenant screening criteria, or you can provide them with tenant screening criteria. What are you looking for in a tenant? You can give that to the property manager, and then that's how they'll process tenants. Then also you need to make sure that that property manager have ability to establish your escrow account, bank account all by yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
you let them know that you want your own escrow account separate from any other property owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that way
Mm-hmm.
they can provide you accurate statements of monies coming in concerning the property. Because if there's any repairs that they have to go in and do, then they have to give you a line item detail account of that so that you can properly report that on your taxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so from time to time, if there's big items that they can't have, that can't handle because you don't have enough money on reserves with them, then they will contact you and say, hey, um, we have a problem with the house. The repair is going to cost X amount of dollars. I have 3 estimates for you. I suggest we go with this one. Can you send me a check to take care of this repair? And then you
Mm-hmm.
send it. After you see the review, you send them that money, because they're sending you your residual income every month. It would behoove you to, if you have a mortgage, pay the mortgage with that money, and then whatever's left, put it aside for emergency purposes, because that's the right thing to do when you are an investor and have a rental property.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. Well, now, I will say I feel like I'm in a different, I'll just state from my perspective, I'm in a different position and I'm really ready, like the young lady you were speaking to, invest. If it's just land lots sitting here, sitting there, hey, let's get them. Let's put our monies together and let's get some things going.
I'm really
And
looking for a group of people to invest in the I-20 corridor, like Dr. Claude Anderson
mm,
suggested, with that rail system that's coming through those 5 states.
yes.
Investing in those in that I-20 corridor as a group cooperative,
Yes.
and
Have
just
you talked
holding
with
the
you talked
land.
with the young lady, right? You got
Yes,
me and she has some up. So we can
just hold the land.
yes,
Just hold it.
yes, yes, yes. So we
But
we
right
gotta we
now, while
gotta
it's
have a
cheap.
meeting, right? We gotta have a
Yes,
meeting.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Y'all just say
All
the
right.
word. I've already told her. Just text me and let me know when it's time to come back and we talk about everything that she and I talked about. She have a chance to share with her partner. She can share that she has a copy of the Zoom link, and she can share with
Okay.
you as well. Yeah, I'm willing to talk about cooperatives every day, all day. Let me know.
Ye- Okay. Well, we're definitely that's on the books. That's on the plan. Let's put it that way. And I would love to be able to do that as well. Just looking at how I can make sure things work out for us in a way that it's a win-win.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a
Yes, ma'am.
win-win for us, right?
That's right. That's right.
So that's the
Doing it
way I
together.
look at it. All right. I really appreciate you taking out the time to hold this discussion. Of course, you're welcome back. And
Oh yeah.
as because I'm pretty sure something else is going to come up. And then also with the fact that I'm advocating and lobbying that Freedmen Affairs restructuring and reestablishing an Office of Freedmen Affairs, we're going to need real estate agents and brokers because I'm all about us going and retrieving our land. And I
Yes.
know the
Yes.
people don't like eminent domain, but
Yes, that's how they took a lot of our land also, Sister Drew. And that's a whole nother conversation. I did some research on that very same discussion, and eminent domain, the Pentagon, the very same landmass that the Pentagon sits on, they took that land, and that was an all black town. 1942. They forced those residents off that land. So I say, hey, if anything, we start with the Pentagon
Oh,
and all the land around, because that was our land that they took
yes.
on
They
purpose.
also to build out the airport in DC, or the Dulles Airport. I found out that they took their land too. So
Okay,
they so at this point in time, they owe us all kinds of land.
exactly. And so to all our uh, people in the dominant race that
Yes.
constantly say that we should not have to pay you all reparations.
Mm,
This is this is what I say to them. We're not asking you for money. We're not asking you for money. We're saying the government owns this land that the Pentagon sits on, that the airport sits on, that a lot of these military bases, a lot of these Catholic churches, a lot of these universities sit on. They don't belong to you, white man, white woman, individually.
right. Right.
Right.
And
Those
that's
are
why
public, that's public property that we're asking for to be returned back to the rightful owners, because our lands were confiscated from us. That's what
yeah.
we're saying.
And that's why I'm big on the Office of Freedmen Affairs, because then it's a government entity that we
Right.
can set up and establish to go up against the government. The Borough Indian Affairs have land management.
Right.
You see where I'm going? And we should
Right.
be able to have the same things as a founding population of this country. And I'm really getting over them attempting to put us in the pot with minorities as minorities. And all of these immigrants come in on top of us and receive everything of ours. We've got to
No,
stop this.
we're not. So they label us as people of color rather than American citizens.
That's why I'm
You notice
highlighting
how they say,
American freedmen. We have
you
got
know,
to
yeah,
stand on our status. We've
right,
got to
right.
stand
You
on it.
notice that though, right? They're saying we have Americans and people of color.
Yes, yes. We're not people of color. We're the Americans. We are the Americans. And we got to stand in it,
American
right?
freedmen.
Yes,
Yes,
American freedmen. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I really appreciate you, Miss Tamara, Tamara, excuse me, for joining me. I'm definitely going to have you back, because this is going to be an ongoing conversation, right?
it's my
We
pleasure
need
anytime.
to continue to drill this information in, and how people can protect themselves right now, because there's so many frauds and scams going on to take us off our land
Right,
and remove
right.
us, right?
And
So,
do not be afraid to go out there and find property within your financial means, right?
mm,
And do not let the interest rate deter you, because if they're talking about lowering the interest rate, if you buy now, then it's always refinance at the lower interest rate.
okay. Yes, my
But if
daughter
you
just did
wait,
that. Mm-hmm.
if
Mm-hmm.
if you wait, when they start dropping those interest rates, then investors are going to come in and pay cash and outbid you.
Okay.
It's only 5 to 6 months worth of inventory. So you don't want to be where you're waiting on low interest rates and now everybody's in the market because there's low interest rates. And now you're competing, and now you're doing multiple offer situations where then you're going to have to offer more than list price in order to secure the win of the property.
Well, let me ask you this. One of the things I think hinders us, before we get off, one of the things I think hinders us and instills some hesitation and doubt within our people buying and purchasing homes is the credit.
What?
What are your thoughts about the credit?
Credit. This is what you need in order to securely buy a house. Some lenders are a loan to you at a 680 credit score. If I were you, I would be looking to get above 700. And this is how you do that. Make sure you have an installment line of credit. That means that you You have a loan somewhere and you're paying them back, and once the loan is over, you have no more obligation and you retain the property that you purchased, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, credit cards, those what you call lines of credit. I mean, reoccurring credits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they give you a line of credit, they give you a credit limit. If you have a credit card, say you have $1,000 limit, you want to not have spent more than $500 on that credit card. When you purchase something on the credit card, if you want to drastically increase your credit score really rapidly,
Mm-hmm.
take a credit card where you have no balance and use it strictly for groceries and gas. The reason
Mm-hmm.
why I say that is because those are the two items that we spend cash money on weekly, right?
Yes. Yes.
So instead of use the cash money, you put it on the credit card, you charge it.
Mm-hmm.
Then at the end of the week, you go in your bank's on your credit card statement and see how much money you spent, take your debit card and pay that bill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So whatever you spending, you put it on a credit card, you're not letting it go 30 days to accrue interest, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
not letting it go 30 days to accrue interest. Every week, whatever you spend on that credit card, you
You
write
go ahead
that
and
check,
pay it off.
you
Mm-hmm.
pay it. And that's going to increase your credit score. Why? Because the credit bureaus look at it as the credit bureaus and the lenders, they look at it as you're being responsible with the credit that they're giving you. They're
Mm-hmm.
loaning you your money and you're paying them right back. They're loaning you the money and you're paying them right back. That makes it look like you're a responsible credit holder. And that's all credit. That's all the credit game is. Once you keep doing that, buying and paying back, buying and paying back, you'll see your credit score inch up, inch up, inch up every month.
Okay.
Nowhere
Now,
to lie.
well, 700, a lot of us, depending on income, may not have a credit score of 700. So do you, let's say you
But I
do
just
want
told you how you get there. I just told
okay.
you how you get
Okay.
there. That's
Now,
how you get there.
that's how you get there. And then I want to ask you, what if you're buying cash? If you have the cash, does the credit matter?
No, because you don't need financing at that point.
Mm.
If you're paying
Okay.
cash for your property, you don't need financing. You don't need a credit check.
Okay.
You just
Okay.
need proof of funds. You just need to have, when you go in and you say, okay, I want to
Mhm.
buy this property, you submit the offer, your offer is accepted by the seller. You need to supply your real estate agent with proof of funds, meaning a bank statement that says, this is how much money I have, this is my name on the statement, and this is how much money is in there. And that the balance in there has to be at least, at minimum, the amount that's on the contract price, on the
Okay.
contract, right?
Okay. Okay.
Or the
And
sales price.
so with the cooperative, then you people would circumvent the credit, and then they're able to use the funds and the funding, and don't even have to worry about any credit. That's
Because you're
where I'm
paying
going.
cash. As long as the cooperative is paying cash.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so now another advantage to doing cooperatives is that you may have some individuals who do have the credit, who
Hmm.
does have the credit.
Hmm. Hmm.
Those are most likely the people that's the treasurer or the secretary,
Hmm. Hmm.
maybe even the president. They have
Hmm.
the credit. They can actually take down the cooperative in the cooperative name and get financing in the cooperative name
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
because they
So it
got the
have to be at
credit,
least
right?
two of them or all three of them to do that if you wanted to finance via credit.
They would have to agree to say, okay, I'm going to be on the loan.
Okay. Okay. Mhm, mhm. And does it need to be within this, stipulated within the documents when you're creating this cooperative, if you were to
Yeah.
finance the land? Okay. Okay.
Yes, you definitely stipulate who's able to sign contracts
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
negotiate contracts.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
do you definitely need to stipulate that in your articles of incorporation.
And I heard you state that you do the cooperative, and then you also make sure that you have land trusts with the cooperative if you're going out and purchasing the land.
Yes. you would definitely want to, once you purchase the land, put it in a trust.
Yes. Okay. 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 Just putting it out there, reiterating for people to understand how we can circumvent some loopholes and disagreements,
Right.
if we're to come together and implement these cooperatives. Which I'm all big on the cooperatives. I love the fact that the cooperatives is a thing that people are attempting to do. I know I've heard others that are already in some or one, and they're already benefiting. I do believe they're already building a development or something of that nature. So I think it's very important for us to collaborate in that way, because then we're able to make sure we're retrieving our land and holding on to it.
Yes, and that's the key to build a generational wealth.
All right, I really appreciate you. This
It
has
was a
been
pleasure.
so educational.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
we need this. I will make sure it is disseminated as well. This information and this podcast is disseminated on X and Instagram. And then, is there anything else that you want people to know?
Well, you can always contact me at 210-741-8301 or shoot me an email, Tamara.Singleton at Tamara.Singleton at c21integra.com.
Okay. All right, Miss Tamara, I appreciate you, and we'll be talking, as you know, behind closed doors. And
Yes,
thank you. Enjoy your rest of your Labor Day. And with that, you all, we're signing off.
yes. Thank you so much for having me. Y'all have a great day. Peace.